Hi guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel Pretty in Paper by me, where we are all about sharing the joy of pretty papers. Now today I'm going to be walking you through step by step how to make your own iris folding card, but not just any iris folding card. Today I'm going to be making a rainbow out of flowers. Sounds exciting, right? So we're going to make a card just like this one. So as you can see, there are 3 different iris folding flowers in this design. Now the pattern I use is exclusive to Pretty Paper community members, but don't worry if you've not joined, because there's a link in the box below where you can get your own copy of the pattern. So grab your supplies guys, get comfy and let's get crafting.
As you can see, I've got all my supplies out in front of me ready for today's session. Now everything you need is in the box down below, so get your supplies together and we can get crafting. Now the first thing I've done is cut up my flower pattern PDF following the dotted lines into the separate pieces. There's a link for this in the box below too. You won't need this card template, this is to make a small square card, but we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. Now you'll just need the piece of A5 card for now, so you can put the piece of A4 to one side. So now I've got a piece of A5 card ready, we just need to cut this a little bit smaller than the size in front of us. So as I'm sure you've seen me use it lots before, we're going to use the mini guillotine to just cut off a little bit of each edge of the card. Now I'm just going to cut about 1 centimetre of the short and the long side, and this is so that when we mount it onto our piece of card we've got a little bit of a border. Now it's a good habit to do this at the start, because otherwise you might end up having to cut into your folds or your sticky tape that you've placed. So now that we've got our piece of A5 card slightly smaller, we can start thinking about where we're going to position our flower silhouettes. So I'm going to need a pencil for this, and I'm just going to put a couple of marks at the bottom about 1.5 centimetres in, just for the start of our rainbow mark. And then I'm going to find the centre of the card, so I know where the top of the peak of our rainbow is going to be. And I'm just going to put a little mark in the middle like that. Once you've got your 3 marks in place, you just want to sketch a little bit of an outline of the rainbow. Now this is the back of the card guys, so it doesn't matter where your line is, as you won't be able to see this when we have finished. It's just as a little bit of a guide for you to have that rainbow shape. So when we've got that line ready, we can start to think about where we're going to position our flowers. So you'll need the flower pattern, and because we're going to use this to draw around, you just need to cut it out so we've got a line to follow. Once you've cut out your flower shape, you can position this centrally on the card using that mark we made at the start, and you just want to make sure that there's a bit of a gap at the top of about 1.5 centimetres to make sure we've got space to place our folds. Then you want to position your flower again on the left hand side, about halfway between the bottom of the card and the first flower you've drawn, and draw around again. And then the same again on the right, about in line with that first flower that we did, halfway between that one and the bottom of the card, and in line with that one on the left, like so. Once you've got your 3 flower outlines, you can start to think about your cutting. So to do this, you're going to need to grab your craft knife and your cutting mat. So I'm going to get those out now, and I'm going to position my cutting mat on the centre of the table, and it's just to protect the surface, and place the card over the top. And then you can begin cutting out your flower silhouettes, like so. Once you cut out all your flower silhouettes, we can put these to one side, and now you have your flower aperture ready to think about the folding. Now before we start folding, you need to choose 5 different pretty papers in 3 different colours, just like I've laid out at the top of my screen. And once you've done that, we need to think about where these colours are going. Now, as we are working from the back of the card, the order of the rainbow will be reversed. So we've got to remember that when we turn our card over, That's the order that we want to be looking at. So it will be the orange that is on the right hand side. Now you want to cut a strip of each of your pattern papers about 2 centimetres wide. And you'll only need probably 1 strip per paper, but this depends on the size of the paper that you're using. Once you've cut out all your paper strips, now we can think about placing our folds. So this is what your flower pattern that we cut out at the start is used for. So grab a bit of blue tack and stick your flower pattern to the table. Once your flower pattern is down, you'll need a little bit more blue tack to stick your flower aperture over the top. Now I'm going to start with the flower in the centre today, and the centre one will be of our green papers. Now to know where to put these, we're going to follow our pattern guide around the flower, and this tells you what paper to place where. So decide which of your papers of paper A, B, C, D, E and so on. And then you can pick up your first paper A strip, fold over an edge of about 0.7 millimetres and cut a piece just slightly larger than the number 1 fold on the pattern. Make sure your folded edge is placed inwards towards the centre of the design and stick down each end of the paper strip like so. Once that is in place, you can continue following around your flower and using your pattern guide to place the rest of your paper strips. Once the final fold of that green flower is in place, again sticking down with a couple of extra bits of sticky tape, we won't cover the centre just now, we'll do that at the end. So now you just need to move your aperture so your next flower is over the pattern. And remember, this one will be in the orange papers as we are working from the reverse. So grab the paper strip of paper A, fold over that edge again of 0.7 to 0.5 millimetres, cut a strip to size to cover fold 1 and stick in place again. And after that, it's following your pattern guide but with your new 5 paper strips. So off you go. Again, once you've placed that final strip of your orange flower, you can move your aperture so that the third and final flower is over the pattern. So for this one, we'll be using those dark blue papers. And again, you just need to pick up your strip of paper A and follow your pattern guide around the flower like so. Once you've placed your final paper strip of your final flower, you have finished with the iris folding. So now we're going to cover the centre, the iris of the flower. So this is what your glitter card is for. Now I've cut 3 pieces just slightly bigger than the holes in the centre, and I'm going to place these over the holes face down and stick in place with some sticky tape. I chose this gold because I thought it would be a nice way of adding a bit of sparkle to my design, and you guys know how much I love anything with a bit of sparkle. So once your glitter card is in place, you can now turn over and look at your folding. How fabulous is it looking already, guys? Now it's time to add some embellishments to the top of our card and turn this into a rainbow. So I've cut out 4 gold flowers using the pattern that we used at the start. Can you see the shape is forming now, guys? And now I've also cut out 4 flowers using those 4 different papers. Now I've made them slightly smaller than the gold ones, so there'll be a little bit of a border, as you can see, like so. It's finally looking like a rainbow, isn't it? Okay, so I like to turn these flowers into something a little bit more 3-dimensional. So I like to fold up the petals like so, and it just gives a little bit more of interest to the card. Now the gold glitter card is much harder to fold into a flower, whereas the paper ones, you can run your thumbnail along the edge like so, just like you would a pair of scissors curling ribbon, and it'll flick up the edges of the paper flowers, just to give it a little bit more of a 3D effect. Now I'm just going to use a little bit of glue to glue my paper flowers on top of the gold card. Just a little bit of a dot in the middle. And once I've glued this down, I will then glue the gold card onto the blue base. And I'll place this in the bottom left hand corner, just like a rainbow. I'm already super excited for the finished look of this card, as it's all starting to really come together now. So once you've got your flower in place, you need to do the same thing for each of your other paper flowers. Once all those paper flowers are in place, you can think about maybe adding something to the middle of them. Now, I'd quite like to add some paper gold flowers using this craft punch that I've got in front of me, because it's a similar shape to the flower that we made today. So I'm going to punch out a few of these and place them in the centre of those flowers we put on top. I think this ties in really nicely with the gold that we've used for the iris of the flowers we folded to. So I'm going to fold the edges up just like we did with the others, so it's got a bit more of that 3D effect. I like to use my tweezers for this bit because now we're getting small and my long nails don't find this easy. So I've got a little bit of glue on the back and place in the middle of the flower, just like so. And once this is in place, you can do the rest with your other flowers. I'm loving how sparkly this card is looking, guys. I don't know about you. Okay, so now you need to think about mounting it to your card base. So that A4 piece of card we had at the start, I've just folded in half, and we're going to place our flower card on top like so. Now to do this, you're going to use some foam sticky pads, and this is because the folding does take up a bit of space on the back of the card, and just sticking it flat down can sometimes cause a bit of bulging. So I'm going to place these foam pads around the edge of the card. Now not too close to the edge though, because otherwise you'll see them. And then I'm going to stick my card base on top of the flowers, like so. Just position it nice and central. And once it's in the centre, you can relax. The hard part is done, guys. Now, anything extra is completely up to you, but I think I'm going to add a little bit of a sentiment to the front of this card, just to tie it all together. I've used my Silhouette Cameo Fort to make these cute little greetings labels for the front of my card. So I'm just going to use a little bit more of that glue to stick them to the front of the design. Now that's in place, I think I'm pretty much done here, guys. So there you have it, your own iris folding flower rainbow greetings card. So thank you for watching, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.